I think we're live.
Hello, 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 and a huge welcome, everybody, to today's catch up. I have the great privilege of introducing a beautiful friend of mine all the way from Ontario in Canada. Woohoo! Tammy was introduced to me 18 months or so ago, 2 years maybe, time's flown, by another beautiful friend, a mutual friend of ours here, Sharon Camillo. So Sharon, I hope you're listening in. Thank you for that lovely introduction. So I'm super, super excited to be coming today. And I normally don't go live on my public page. I normally do this on my parenting page, but I wanted more and more people to be able to meet Tammy because she is doing some amazing things. She is really wanting to bridge the gap, and bring connection and love into teaching and into parenting, and to really nurture children, especially starting at that young, the preschool, kindergarten age. But let me read a little bit of a formal intro of Tammy. She is amazing. So she calls herself the Hero Intelligence Teacher, and I love that. Her superpower, and I love that because in Nurtured Heart Approach, we talk about superpowers and greatness. Her superpower is transforming classroom learning environments calm, peaceful, and joyful for both students and teachers. She is passionate about quality education and helping every child become the best that they can be. Good title for a book. With a focus on the three super brains: head, heart, gut, through the power of storytelling. In kindergarten masterclass, learning is fun, engaging, educational, and empowering. Her motto is listen, learn, and lead. And I love the lead part of that particularly. It's awesome. Tammy helps children connect learning to life using My Compass of Life model, which is based on attitudes, behaviors, choices, diamonds, emotions, future. She trains teachers how to transition from chaos to calm using character development so that every child's full potential is recognized and fostered into greatness. Another word that we use in the Nurtured Heart Approach. We're so aligned. Her passion is creating methods and models that are easy for both teachers and students to thrive by reducing learning roadblocks. Tammy's life work focuses on building peer-to-peer relationships, reducing behavioral issues, increasing self-esteem and self-worth through social and emotional lessons. And isn't that what we all aim for as parents and educators? Her dream, her absolute dream, is to transform ordinary classrooms into extraordinary classrooms. To do this, she believes we must first see children as innately wise and capable. I love that. With as much wisdom to offer us as we have to offer them. Yes, they are our teachers as much as we're their teachers. After teaching hundreds of children for almost 2 decades, she started when she was 5. What she knows for certain is that learning happens everywhere, from everyone and everything. The 21st century classroom needs to be one that includes and celebrates every child's genius, purpose, passion, and unique personality, expanding beyond basic subjects like reading, math, and science. Wow, that is a huge passion and mission that you have there. So that's a lot for people to take in. And I see you as being a very, very unique educator. What you are doing is what I just would hope and pray that every school, implemented, seeing the children the way that you do, and embracing their greatness and their superpowers, and having the children learn from a very young age to be leaders is a key, a real key. So Tammy, tell us a little bit more about, what you're doing, what your project is, and, how people can get involved.
Awesome. Well, first off, thank you for the incredible introduction and for highlighting what I wrote, because it brought me back into all the concepts that we could talk about here and we can play off of. Yeah, and I just want to champion the work that you're doing, Lillian. And the reason why we did connect on such a heart level is because we saw this beautiful synergy between the two of us. And the thing is that when you have a common interest to support and champion children, it doesn't matter if you're at home, in a daycare, or in a school. At the core of it, the whole goal is that we come together as one, and we share the same vision and mission to support and champion our youth,
Yeah.
you know, children and families. So that's why I'm here. And I love that we're bringing this conversation together, because we are bringing teachers and parents into alignment with the work that we both do.
Yeah.
And this conversation is where it starts, right? We bring people on board. You've got people, parents who want to support their children, and same with me in the classrooms, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. So tell me a little bit about your bigger vision. So, I mean, since the time I've known you, you've shared with me what you're personally doing in your classrooms, in the schools that you work in, and you work in many schools, and what you do is very, very beautiful and individual. So tell me a little bit about what you've been doing as an individual with what the program that you've developed and what you're doing with your beautiful children. But then what your vision is to then take that out, you know, not only across Canada, but across the world.
Well, and exactly, you know how everybody has a strength, a wheelhouse, a genius, a superpower, right?
Yeah.
And so when we get to do something over and over and over again, we become a master. And that's ultimately how I became a master teacher, hero intelligence teacher. It came from kind of a little bit like the oyster and the pearl, right? Where there was an irritation. I went from teaching grade 5, 6, and I went into prep, meaning I gave teachers their prep time. And the subjects that what they ended up giving me was the subjects they didn't want. And one of the biggest subjects they did not want was gym, because usually mayhem, right? 30 little 4 and 5-year-olds all running around like crazy, like with their heads like little chickens in the room, and a lot of chaos, right? And I thought, oh my goodness, what am I going to do? How am I going to get through 3 gym periods with 4 and 5-year-olds a day? And one of my superpowers and geniuses and skills is psychology and behavior management. And so luckily, I also have a creative brain. Like, I call myself like Walt Disney. I have so many materials and resources, and I love to create. So I took my passion for animals and characters and stories and psychology and taking personal growth and development, and translated it into a program that would support these children one day in class. And then these skills were transferred over into the gym. And then I started to structure the gym into mindfulness and more practices where it didn't have to be loud and chaotic, and especially to support, you know, the autistic children in our classroom, or the children who were very sensitive to sound and noise, right? And so I started to realize that their days were very hectic and very loud, because you take these beautiful little souls from 1 or 2 homes of families with siblings, and you put them in a classroom of 30. Well, what does that do, right, to their mental, their emotional, and their nervous system, and in general? So much stimulation, and they needed a rest break. And I started to realize, not only them, but the educators that I was working with, you know, they were burnt out, stressed out, strung out. And then when you put them in these really high energy environments, you started to realize that the reason why there were so many behavioral issues showing up is their needs weren't being met, right? Or they were being challenged and the readiness wasn't there, or they didn't have the language and the communication skills and the social skills to communicate with one another.
I love that.
And so, right? So those are the kinds of things that I started to see all these red flags. And my super brain, right, started to figure out very quickly survival and how to structure it in a way, using my creative genius and the passion and love of storytelling, into building it into a program that they would well receive, and they wanted to get behind, and they had fun. So that's ultimately really how it all started.
That's incredible. I'm currently working with a bunch of amazing families, and all of the kids the children of these parents have been diagnosed with various things, many of them with autism or on the autistic spectrum disorder. And a lot of them do struggle at school, don't they? Because of all the things that you just said, right? And teachers, you know, with all the very best intentions in their hearts, just, you know, they're trying to just maintain some sort of semblance of you know, of being able to teach in a classroom of 25 plus kids. And then you've got your handful of your more sensitive kids, your more intense kids, your kids who are really seeking relationship. And unfortunately, what happens is that, you know, I've found in my work is that not only parents, but teachers also tend to go more upside down. And what I mean by upside down is they give more attention, energy, connection, and relationship to the things going wrong, because that's kind of like, you know, crisis management, like that kid's, you know, mucking up. So you give them attention, you know, that kid's, you know, screaming or not listening or annoying the partner, and you give them attention. Whereas we really want to be able to utilize our time in the classroom as teachers and educators to embrace the greatness in all of our kids, and to have the time to be able to see the kids for the great things that they're doing, not just giving time, energy, and relationship to the kids who are mucking up. So I love the story that you shared with you. No, you go.
Yeah, I just want to jump in on with you. It's negative reinforcement. So those children that are acting out, the children who want the attention, start to realize very quickly that if I act out and misbehave, I'm going to get attention.
Exactly.
And you just snowball, right, the effects of that. Instead of with me, I'm not about to give that attention. I'm giving my attention and praise and acknowledgement to the little leaders, to the children that are showing kindness and, you know, are helping one another. Those are the things that I acknowledge. And then you spread that around the room, right? And that starts to become the going stuff. So sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
No, it's perfect, because what we are all seeking as children and as adults is relationship, connected and heartfelt relationship. And unfortunately, some kids learn from a very early age, and through our kind of generational way of parenting and educating, that they get that best, you know, connection and relationship when they do the wrong thing. Now, it might not be positive relationship, but it's still relationship in their books. So, you know, that's something we really have to turn around, both in the home and in the classroom. And you're right, because when you are acknowledging the kids for doing the things, you know, and showing the qualities and behaviors that you're wanting to grow, then other kids will pick up on that too. They'll go, oh, okay, so Susie, you know, just got some beautiful relationship and acknowledgement for being kind and for being thoughtful, you know. And so many times in the classroom and in homes, we teach the rules when things are going wrong. But really the time to teach the rules, and I'm sure you'll probably agree with this, is the time when they're being followed. And that's how we actually teach rules. And that's how we teach, you know, the qualities that we want to grow. When we see them, we really grow them, and we tell that the children, you know, that really shows me that you're so kind and you're so thoughtful. I love the way that you just helped, you know, Susie with her work or with her project or whatever they're doing. That really shows me you're a kind and considerate classmate, and you really care about your fellow students and friends. And, you know, that shows me so much greatness about you. So building up the kids when they're doing the right thing, as opposed to giving them that focus, connection, and relationship when they're not. And it sounds like you're doing that in your classroom, which I think is a key to the calm, because you've got the calm, you've got the cooperation from the kids, because you're actually showing them in a positive way how you want the classroom to run, what the rules of the classroom are. What were your three things? Calm, peace, and joy. You know, that's what you're wanting to grow in your classroom. So that's awesome.
Well, and what I discovered, which was interesting, that I never knew, but the one thing that is the biggest motivator over anything, over praise, a reward, a toy, stickers, stars, anything. And it blew my mind. And when I understood what this one thing is, and I want everybody to kind of ponder, what is that one thing? Because it's golden. And if you know what this one thing is to motivate and drive student behavior, you'll be like blown away. And the one thing was, do you want to take a guess, Lillian?
You said not recognition, didn't you? Because I was thinking acknowledgement, recognition. Okay.
And that's why it took me 25 years to figure it out, or in the process, but it's leadership. The one thing that 4 and 5-year-olds want more than anything in the world is to have a voice, is to have autonomy, is to lead, because they're always micromanaged. They never get to be seen and heard a lot of times. And I started to realize this is the single biggest thing that children that are 4 and 5 want more than anything in the world, is to lead. And so what would start to happen is I had my natural leaders, right? Even your shy little leaders were observant, and they want to lead with what they're good and confident in, not what they're not good and confident in, what their superpowers and their genius and talent is. And so when you empower them, especially, and here's the biggest thing, especially your behavioral kids, because those are your alpha kids, right? They want a role, but I always say, oh, in this class, kind leadership only. So they are not allowed to lead in my classroom if they're not kind and loving. So what does kindergarten masterclass look like? What does it sound like? What does it feel like? What does it speak like? And what does it think like? And so we give examples like, I can do it, and thank you. And it's calm, right? It's quiet. We use a calm, quiet voice. We use our manners, right? And so it feels good. We feel at peace. And so I give them the language of what it is we want, right? What kind of environment do you want to help me create? And, you know, when you create a beautiful, calm space, guess what? You can be the leader. Why? Because everybody's a good listener and learner. But if it's not calm and quiet, unfortunately, you can't lead. And how many of you guys would love to be able to lead and teach and share? They all want to. They all want to do show and tell, right? And so what I started to realize is that, number one, stillness and silence is their superpower. Why? Because if you're not still and you're not silent, you can't concentrate. And you also create these roadblocks for everybody else in the learning environment. And so I don't hold them, like make them sit for 20 minutes and listen. It's short periods, right? And we hold space, and then I get them to be interactive and engage with one another, like do a teach and tell or do a parent share. So it's small, but they learn it. And as they learn it, we grow it, right? And then I say, listen, learn, then lead. So the whole goal of listening and learning is to be able to eventually lead. Lead in what? Lead what they're passionate about. Lead in something that they're good at, something that they want to share. And I also say to the early childhood educators that work with me, or the EAs that work with me, you know, don't micromanage them. The one thing that if you go into a classroom or even a home, sometimes we're always barking at children. Can you imagine if somebody was constantly barking and micromanaging us every 2 minutes? It would make us go cuckoo, right? So it's like part of it is learning how to sit back and talking to them like they're capable and competent, and, you know, and supporting them into that role. And I always say, you know, peace begins with me. I either bring the calm in the classroom or I bring the chaos.
Absolutely.
So if you're a parent or a teacher or an educator, the first place we work on is ourselves.
Yeah. I've come to that realization too, because many parents come to me to help fix their children, you know, but they soon realize that's not the case. It's really, you know, it's all from us. Our parenting coach told us, you know, that if we have a challenging child in our home, then we're the blame, or not the blame, to look at ourselves, look in the mirror, right? And a lot of parents, you know, don't want to acknowledge or recognize that, but we definitely, you know, came to the conclusion that that was the case. And when we looked at us as parents, then our child changed accordingly. I would love to see your program. So you teach other educators and parents parents who might be homeschooling, for example, or doing after school care. You also talked about another really cool idea where I can't remember what you called it, but different parents get together and support each other in a group. Tell us a little bit more about that.
Well, what we're trying to do with Star Hero Academy is create a community, a common language, and a hub for teachers, parents, and educators, right? Because we all have the same job of raising and mentoring, these beautiful souls on the planet. And first, that common language, right? And erasing the boundaries between one another. That separates and divides us. So the one thing is just creating a common language, and then within that common ground and common area, you create wheelhouses, right? So you would still have the same language, right? But we're all gathered together. But even within that, you have a parenting coach like you who might have a group of parents that are all in there together, and there's maybe a coach that's supporting them in the main program and then the hub program. So a before and after school age program. And again, you're addressing specific needs, but again, the child first, right? So the child is first and the program is second, whether it's homeschool or daycare. And so again, if you're a teacher in the classroom, yes, your needs are going to be different, but again, the child is still a child first. And the language is what we're coming together, and the vision and mission, how to champion and support one another, is about the foundation. It's like a house, right? If you're building a house, you still need an engineer, and you still need, the foundation is the same. But as you build the house and the walls and the decoration and the rooms, you're going to customize it for different, purposes and styles and, desires, right? And preferences. But at the base of it, you still have the base, the foundation. And so what I'm trying to offer, a global community and, parents, teachers, and educators is the foundation to, number one, how do we become hero intelligence teachers, parents, educators, right? How do we find our peace first?
Yes.
And then how do we support children, whether it's home, daycare, or school, but we're still supporting them into growing their inner hero, which is supporting their 3 super brains, their head brain, right? I can do it. Their heart brain, where they give back to others, and their gut brain. When you've got those 3 brains healthy, happy, and in alignment, that's how children, whether they're home, daycare, or school, show up and can become their best self.
Wow. So you don't have to be an educator to get involved. You can be a parent.
Exactly.
So Tammy, we said 20 minutes and we've gone so fast. I knew we would. So for anybody who is loving the sound of what you're sharing, and you really just touched on, the beauty of what you're doing. And as you were talking about this, with your kindergarten, I'm like, 7-year-olds need this, 12-year-olds need this, 15-year-olds need this.
Adults.
Yeah, but I'm talking, in the classroom, like this is so needed. But if we can get it started at that earlier age, then of course, the kids then grow into that and grow up with that, which is awesome. So if you are a parent of any age child, really, whether it be, preschool, kindergarten, primary aged or beyond, and you want to foster this in your family, or if you're an educator in your classroom, please do connect with Tammy. So she's got something really special coming up. She's got an open house coming up, but it's private invitation only. So tell us, Tammy, how people can connect in and perhaps find out a little bit more.
Well, again, they could private message me or private message you, but within our Star Hero Academy, we're going to have a library, and in those libraries will be like, parent support material, teacher support material, early childhood education material that support, and then also generalized. So you get to decide, is it customized? Like, is it this specific to daycare, home, or school? Or is it just general for every parent, teacher, or educator out there? Because again, the first rule, peace begins with me, is it doesn't matter what you are. the first thing, you can't raise healthy, happy children if you aren't happy, healthy yourself, right? So the first thing is loving yourself first and learning how to show up fully and completely, and then supporting children in whatever wheelhouse or area you are, your area of expertise or material is. So what we're trying to do is just, and the reason why I wanted the conversation with you, Lillian, is because you've got a really beautiful parent group. And so, you have probably people more interested in parents that you would know because you've got parent followers. We have super moms in our group and coaches and that support and champion children and families. And then we have teachers, right? And that's my area. I don't have children of my own, but my passion and purpose is working in the classroom, so I can champion and support teachers. And then we've got people that are coaches, right? Mentors. Mm-hmm. So we're looking at whatever it is. If you're working with children at whatever age level, all this stuff is relevant. Right? It's foundational stuff. It's like I always teach and I teach with animals. But dog, right? Dog, if you spell dog backwards, spells God. And I love that because what does dog or God teach us? How to love without conditions, unconditionally, right? And we use animals because you remember it. Like, wow, okay, dog represents loving unconditionally. You could do whatever, and a dog would have no judgment towards you. And so we learn these beautiful tales and stories through animal tales and things. And before we leave, I want you to mention the animal that you chose because we had it on our poster and everywhere. What animal did you choose to be your spirit animal?
You know what? That became so interesting because when you asked me that question, I went initially to Australian native animals, and then I'm like, well, everybody knows the kangaroo and the koala and the wombat, etc. So I actually thought of an animal that was quite unique, and I came up with echidna. So Tammy hadn't heard of an echidna. It's a little bit like, I kind of guess it's similar to looking to your hedgehog, sort of. That's the closest I could come up with. And I knew some stuff about the echidna, but my youngest son's partner is actually an animal expert. She's amazing. And I asked her a little bit more about the echidna. And here's what was really interesting. I knew the echidna was very unique. It's called a monotreme, which means it's an egg-laying mammal. So there's only the echidna and the platypus. So they're the only two animals in the world who are monotremes. So they're mammals, but they're egg-laying. And I knew that already, but Amy shared with me that the echidna has a backwards pouch, and once the egg hatches, after only 10 days, there's a scent that the mother gives out. So the tiny, tiny, tiny little echidna that's come out of the egg makes its way up into the mother's pouch, hence why it's a mammal. And then it grows there for about 12 months. But one of the unique things she said about the echidna is that they're very, very unique, of course, and I love working with kids who are unique and different. They are very strong-willed as an animal, and they are the most nurturing mothers. They are very, very nurturing. So they keep their baby in their pouch for up to 12 months. So when I thought of unique, strong-willed, nurturing, and I didn't even know all of those things, but intuitively I just picked it. And they're
the first
different.
animal you came up with, and that's why I said the first one. And tell them how, and I love it. It couldn't have been more perfect for you because of who you are and how you show up and how you support children. But also, you had a picture sent to you, and they're very rare.
They're very rare, even for us in Australia. Like if you ask every Australian, have you seen an echidna in the book, live, like not in an animal facility, but in nature? Most people will say no, that they haven't. And I don't believe I've seen one. I don't recall ever seeing one. I've seen platypus, but not echidna. And I should do this on Facebook. Have you ever, seen an echidna live if you're in Australia? My son was actually out in the bush, and the very day that Tammy and I were talking about this, he sent a photo of an echidna that he saw. And I'm like, what? He's never seen one before. He's never posted a picture of one before. It was on the same day. So I think that, I really think that something really woo-hoo was happening out there.
And you know what's interesting about that is when, like, because I didn't do well in school, and one of the first things that really lit me up and I was so passionate about was doing an animal project. And do you know what my animal that I chose was a platypus.
Oh, really?
And I was
Oh,
fascinated. I used to not like going to school because, you know, I was labeled as learning disabled and all those
oh,
labels. But that was the thing that I remember, I'll never forget it. It was my first pull into school, and it was around an animal, and it was the platypus. And you know, people might not remember what you and I talked about here today. They'll and feel the essence of it, but they will remember your spirit animal and this story
yeah.
about how we had like a woo-woo moment, and we'll remember story because we remember stories, and we all have a connection and a love and admiration to animals. And that's why I use so much of that storytelling and animals in the classroom.
I love that. And I love all of your little puppets and things. Tammy is so creative. Go and friend her on Facebook and see all the cool stuff she does. So thank you so much, Tammy, for this conversation. I think we could have easily made it 60 minutes, but we better leave it there because it's been amazing chatting with you. And I look forward to finding out more about, you know, your open house and to joining that and to listening into more about your amazing project that you're doing and your vision and passion for empowering us big people, right? Us parents and educators to really connect in with our children and to connect in and to grow amazing leaders. And, you know, that's what we want to do. That's what we want to be building in this generation. So the next generation have amazing heart-centered and empowered leaders. I think it's lacking in this generation. So we want to build it for the next generation. And just, yeah, I think that your passion and mission for that is incredible. And I thank you. I thank you for all that you do. And I thank you for your many greatnesses, Tammy. So until next time, that's it from us today. Thank you so much, everybody, for tuning in. And hopefully we'll catch you in the open house. Bye for now.
Awesome. Thank you. Bye.